I'm back from Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, and it was an absolutely incredible cruise. But going back on Icon after a year since it debuted, I was worried, was it really going to match up to what I remember? Was the hype of the ship just a little bit more than maybe I was giving it credit for? And would it really just be as good as I remember it? So I went on Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas for 7 nights on a Western Caribbean cruise. We departed from Miami, and that's where Icon is, and it's pretty much going to be for quite a number of years coming forward. Icon sails from Miami, offering alternating 7 night cruises between Western and Eastern Caribbean, and in this case, this was a Western Caribbean cruise visiting Roatan, Honduras, Costa Maya, Mexico, Cozumel, Mexico, and Perfect Day at Coco Key. Prior to this cruise, I had done about 3 different cruises on Icon, including a media preview sailing, the inaugural sailing, and a cruise in July, which is actually a Royal Caribbean Blog Group cruise. So I'd been on there a couple times. This was not new to me, but I really went on there trying to figure out what it was going to be like. Plus, this time I was bringing my family on board, and it was spring break. So a couple different X factors involved, but really, what would it be like, and is Icon still my favorite ship? Remember, Icon of the Seas can handle up to 7,600 passengers, and on this sailing, there was actually 7,300 passengers on board, nearly at its maximum capacity. Add in crew members, and you've got almost 10,000 people on a cruise ship. So I was worried about, would it live up to the hype? Would the crowds be just incredibly unmanageable? And would the show still be as good as I remember? And basically just, how much did I romanticize Icon early on versus what it was like here? From the get-go, getting back on Icon, one thing that struck me was how effective crowd management still was on the ship. Royal Caribbean knew that it needed to distribute crowds well enough in order to keep a ship this big from feeling overstuffed and unenjoyable, and I gotta tell you, they really figured out an Icon. With few exceptions, crowds simply just don't exist on the ship. Sure, when a show lets out, or there's a party on the Royal Promenade, you're gonna have people there, right? There's gonna be a crowd, but those are engineered crowds. Even on the pool deck, which traditionally suffers the worst crowding problems on sea days, it is remarkably open. Not only are there tons of chairs everywhere, but adding more pools than any other ship and spreading them out clearly has worked. Now, I can't promise you're gonna find a chair in front of Royal Bay Pool at noon on a sea day, but there are gonna be chairs nearby. There's an art to how the activities are programmed, the venues are spread out, and the different places you can go. So if there's really any concern that going on a ship with 10,000 people is going to feel too crowded, I really don't think you need to worry about that. Now, like many of you, I was curious, what has changed on Icon of the Seas? What is different from before? And the reality is not much. There were very few changes that I noticed since last year. I think the biggest change is that they made all the items on base camp included in your cruise fare. Previously, the menu had a lot of extra cost items and a few freebies, but now it's all included. Now, granted, they did drop 2 items from the menu. Fare thee well, cheese curds. We hardly knew you. The library within Pearl Cafe is also holding on for dear life. There is no formal library. There's just a borrow a book concept within the Pearl Cafe, but there's 7 books left, and I'm not sure how long it's going to last. And something else I noticed is that Ryan Bean is not open in the early morning hours. This used to be one of my favorite secrets about Icon, is that instead of Pearl Cafe, you go to the Ryan Bean over in the Aquadome for coffee if you wanted to get your complimentary coffees, or better yet, the coffees that you can use your diamond drinks or your drink package with. Anyway, Ryan Bean doesn't open until 10 a.m. now. It used to open at 8 a.m., and that's a change that I noticed there. But I really didn't notice any real wholesale changes that were fundamentally different than what it was like a year ago. Now, the reality is, when it comes to the shows on Icon of the Seas, they are so must-do, because Royal Caribbean has done such a good job producing each of the signature shows on board. You've got Wizard of Oz, Aqua Action, and Starburst, and they're all excellent and worth your time. They are must-sees. I'll even go as far as to say, I really think Wizard of Oz is worthy of being put on a stage on land because of the high production value. It's really incredible. I was a bit put off by going to the shows because I had been on Utopia a lot, and Utopia shows, I hate to say it, are not that great. Anyway, they were fantastic on Icon of the Seas. I ate plenty well on Icon and got to as many restaurants as I could, but if there was one deficiency I found is that the ship really lacks that one more really good restaurant. Specialty dining is a huge focus for a lot of people. For a 7-night cruise, I think it really needs one more top-level specialty restaurant. Chops Grill, Giovanni's Italian, and Izumi are all terrific, and I ate at each one on the cruise, but that was where it kind of ended there. Anecdotally, Hooked really does not seem to be very popular because it's so heavy on shellfish, which either you love or you hate. And I like Pier 7 as a specialty restaurant, but it's always empty in there every night, and most people just simply have no idea that it even exists. Now, other pay options are far more casual. Playmakers, the Trellis Bar has food, and of course, Empire Supper Club is divine, but it's super expensive, and of course, a niche experience. I don't think it's the kind of restaurant you're going to go to every single cruise necessarily, but it's just got that hefty price tag that's going to put off a lot of people. I really basically missed having a restaurant like 150 Central Park or Wonderland, or better yet, how about a new concept from Royal Caribbean to help augment that? And this is especially problematic if you have a dining package. If you buy the unlimited dining package and are looking to not spend extra from what the dining package includes, there's just there can be a lot of repetition involved. And we ended up going to both Giovanni's and Izumi twice in the same cruise. Again, that's not a problem. Just kind of wish there was one more restaurant there. If there's one thing I regretted about my cruise, it's that I really didn't spend any time at the pool. We had so much fun on board, I just didn't have time for the pool. This is totally a first world problem, but our itinerary was loaded with ports in a lot of different places. There were 3 stops in the Western Caribbean and a visit to Perfect Day at Coco Key. So the downside of this schedule is it left us with just 2 sea days, and with everything happening around Icon, I just never got around to spending time in the pool. In retrospect, I should have probably skipped a day in Cozumel and instead hung out on the ship while everybody else is in port. I think Royal Caribbean's done such a good job with the pools, especially Swim and Tonic and Cloud 17, but with dueling pianos, all the shows, great dining choices, the activities, the pools just got left out of our schedule, and I kind of regretted it. I really wanted to go and hang out at Swim and Tonic, just never found the time. Speaking of time, though, I did make time to go back to Dueling Pianos, and I gotta tell you, on Icon, it's one of my favorite go-to evening entertainments on there. I had tried Dueling Pianos on the inaugural sailing, and it stood out immediately. So when I went back for a few evenings, I was curious to see would it be as good. The idea, if you've never been to Dueling Pianos, is really simple. 2 pianists take requests from the crowd and take turns playing as many as they can. The thing that makes this more interesting, though, is that there's the entertainment factor that gets played into it. Each of the piano players incorporates the audience and makes it really fun. Roll and Sarah were a terrific duo, and I loved how they infused humor to the songs we've heard plenty of times. This isn't about 2 people that can play on the piano. This is about 2 people that can play on the piano and make it a fun game. It's also a really good bar to make friends because of how much the audience participation gets involved here. The bar regulars will become characters soon enough, essentially, and you'll wave hello to people that you know around the ship. I got to know Tim and Lindsay and Kyle because they were just part of a lot of the things, a lot of the shtick that was happening within the bar. And it's really cool because not only is it fun, but you see these people around the ship, and it just makes it easier to approach people, make new friends on board, which I absolutely loved. Another place I really spent a lot of time at was the Comedy Club. I really enjoy the adult comedy shows on any Royal Caribbean ship, but Icon has the best venue for it yet. On other ships, the comedy shows are performed either in the Royal Theater or a multi-use venue, but Icon has a purpose-built comedy club, and I think it's absolutely perfect. The venue has a great layout with just enough space to handle the rampant demand for shows, but also provide comics and audience alike with great angles to enjoy it all. Plus, we had amazing comedians on board, including my all-time favorite, Simeon Kirklees. He is very not PG, but so funny, really, really good. I really love how Royal Caribbean invests in live comedy, and this venue is absolutely superb. And lastly, Icon still has the easiest embarkation and disembarkation process. It's just so efficient. It really does open my eyes to it, especially the disembarkation process because of how smooth, fast, and efficient everything is. I remember I was on Radiance of the Seas a couple months ago, and that's a very small ship compared to Icon. It's a very small ship in general, but I went on there, and on disembarkation morning, we had to stand in line. We weren't cleared by customs until, close to about 7 a.m. because it took us a while to dock over there, and it just was very slow. Fast forward to Icon, and they had almost all the luggage numbers called before 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was able to walk off the ship. I mean, I could have walked off at like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was incredible how easy they make this. Check-in is equally impressive because, of course, if you do everything in the Royal Caribbean app, you're going to breeze through the whole process. It almost feels like you don't stop walking, quite frankly. I'm amazed by it. So when it comes to a big ship, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, here we go. It's going to be a real hassle to get on and off the ship, but it really wasn't at all. Overall, we had a really good time on this cruise. In fact, I'm going to say this is like our best cruise in a long time in the sense that it stood out as one of our best ones to date. We had a lot of fun, we did a lot, we had great weather, and best yet, the ship itself really stood out. If I had any concerns that Icon hadn't aged well or like all that hype like overinflated how good the ship was. I really don't think that's the case at all. In fact, it's really made me more excited for Star of the Seas, which is coming out in August of this year, and I can't wait to see some of the tweaks and follow-ups and how Royal Caribbean is going to top Icon. But in the meantime, Icon is an absolutely fantastic ship. It's expensive. It's going to cost you way more than, the aforementioned Radiance of the Seas or a variety of other ships out there. But the truth is, you do get a lot for that in terms of just how much there is and how well everything works on board. Now, it's not necessarily going to be a dollar for dollar benefit, or you can kind of quantify all of it, but I will say this brand new ship holds up quite well. Let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on Icon of the Seas, and what stands out to you about this brand new ship? And if you've been on there recently, especially in the last few months, what is your take? What's your hot take and review of this ship? While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube will let you know when we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.